Let me stop sharing.
Everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good so far.
Perfect. So we're going to start bringing everybody in. We'll get started in a moment.
So Bill, I think, probably the first or something we'll, I guess we'll put in the chat, but also, probably tell people as we bring them in. If you are here to present and you filled out the form, still please raise your hand, let us know that you're here. If you didn't fill out the form, shame on you for not following directions, but, send us your info and, oh, I guess we're live, huh?
Yeah, no, I think we're good. So continue on, Don. That was perfect.
So if you didn't, follow the directions, that's okay. We could hopefully squeeze you in, but you need to, oh, I see you guys raising your hand. Thank you, Peter Hayek. Yep, we've got you on the list. Hey, Seth. If you're looking to present, again, let us know. Even if you have registered, it would be great to get that, make sure that we have you on the list. And if we don't have you on the list, again, we will try to put you in, but you need to then send chat to, me or Bill, or, well, I'd probably Bill, right? If because you are the keeper of the list.
Yep.
And
Perfect.
I don't know if Owen is on yet, but I guess as the timekeeper, he could also kind of be the manager of the flow, but I don't see him yet.
Perfect. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started because we have a pretty packed agenda, and absolutely we want to get to as many pitches and give feedback as we possibly can. So good evening, everybody. My name is Bill. I'm with the Founder Institute. We call ourselves Keystone. Keystone encompasses the Philadelphia area, the Delaware Valley. We have individuals in FI through New York, through Maryland. We have some individuals out in Pittsburgh. So we're really representative of the Delaware Valley and the greater Delaware Valley ecosystem. I'm proud to present this event. And right now, let's kind of get into it. So this is our version of the Startup Pitch Bootcamp. It's going to run fairly straightforward. Founder Institute is a very large group. We help individuals grow their business, and we have cohorts starting all throughout the United States. And Founder Institute Keystone chapter has mentors from over 10 countries, as well as we have close to 100 individuals that are here to help founders grow their business. Whoops. So next couple of minutes we'll take and kind of introduce the people that we have on the panel, and then we'll kind of get going. So wanted to throw out the agenda just so everyone's aware. We're going to have some speaker introductions. So each of our speakers will just do about 1 minute about themselves and how they came to FI. Those speakers will actually then give a roughly 5-minute presentation on some specific topics around pitching. One of the things you'll find with FI is we're very targeted in terms of how we're going to help founders to actually grow and connect with other people. So our FI 1-minute pitch is something that we could easily break down and help you with. We'll talk about some FI best practices for pitching, talk a little bit more about Founder Institute, and then we're going to get to what everybody's here for, which is pitching, feedback, and Q&A. So right now, I'm going to have Mac kind of roll into the speaker introductions and what the speakers will cover. So Mac, you are first. Give yourself an introduction and then move on to the others.
Thank you so much, Bill. Very nice interaction. So hello, good evening, everybody. So this is Max. So I'm currently the CEO of an IT company. It's called Advision Global. We are doing actually IT services, IT procurement services, IT maintenance, and managed services as well. Apart from that, like I'm also a technologist. So I have worked mostly Fortune 500 companies like JP Morgan Chase, Comcast, Infosys, TD Bank, as a technologist and also as a technology lead as well, and also as a business architect. Apart from that, I am also a startup advisor for several startup company and also the mentor for Founder Institute.
Thanks,
Looking
Max.
forward. Yeah.
Next up is Amrish. Amrish, about a minute.
Sorry about that. Need to get off mute. Can everyone hear me? So hi, I'm Amrish Macedo, and I'm also entrepreneur. I've started a few companies, some of which have succeeded, and a lot of them have failed, but that's a common thread you'll find with lots of entrepreneurs. I just want to point out some of my strengths and weaknesses in this space. Strengths are around things like product market fit, business model, helping with pitches, also on the delivery side with technology, operations, and strategy. My weaknesses tend to be around the finance area, contracts, regulation, and then sales and marketing. I've been involved in sales, but I certainly wouldn't consider myself a salesperson. So thanks.
Thanks, Amrish. Next up is me. Bill, represent the financial aspects of FI. I'm with Citizens Bank. I am a commercial banker with them. I talk to a lot of founders regarding their growth strategies, how to kind of translate thoughts into numbers and numbers into a plan. So looking forward to giving some feedback on these pitches. Finally, we have Joel.
Thanks, Bill. Hello, everybody. I'm Joel Ginsberg. I'm the managing partner of Firelight Partners. I'm an advisor to fast growth entrepreneurial companies. I was the co-founder and CEO of 2 technology startups, raising over 22 million in venture capital. The last one we exited to an affiliate of SoftBank. Then had a lot of different functional areas, but my primary focus these days is on financial and operations areas of companies, financial plans, helping people think about raising capital, where to go, how to do it. That's kind of what I do, and I'm an advisor to a number of startups across the country, and a mentor here with Founder Institute.
Great. Thanks, Joel. So just to kind of review for everybody, our 1-minute pitch and why we think it's probably the most powerful way to get your word and your name across. Realistic goal of that pitch is really to be targeted in up to 5 different areas. We always want to have founders kind of ask and ask, because the ask is sometimes the thing that is the most powerful. And what we'll do over the next 20 minutes or so is kind of break down that 1-minute pitch, not going into a terrible amount of detail, but really we want to hear from our mentors around some specific things that they're good at and things that they can help from a founder perspective in terms of being able to hone then that 1-minute pitch. So Mac is going to focus on the first section of the pitch, the defined offering, audience, and problem. Then comes Amrish, then myself, and then finally Joel will work on that. And then we'll talk a little bit about FI, and then we'll get to pitching. So Mac, you are up.
Perfect. So Bill, yeah, so I'm going to talk about mostly the product development. So as I already made my intro, so Bill, if you can go to the next slide. I think you can go to the next one, Yes, perfect. So before like talking to the product development, that I am going to assume that you already have the defined market, already have the validated your idea, and you already have the first set of customers. So talk to your users first before even creating the MVP or your product. So that's the most important thing. If you do not talk to your users, then there is no point to create your MVP. The next thing is that like a lot of time that what we do, we first focus on the technology side rather than focusing the main problem that we are going to solve. So definitely first focus what the problem you are going to solve and what the value that you are going to give to your customers rather than technology. When you decide the problem first, after that you can focus on your technology part. Next slide, please.
Sorry.
So one thing that you need to think about that, like, so when you are when you are talking about like building the MVP or the product, so technically how much time it should take. So always remember, like it should take max 1 to 3 months. So you are not going to build a robust application, but you are just going to build one functional prototype. Functional prototype means like you should have at least a couple of users. They should be able to register. They should be able to log in. And for that kind of thing, it should ideally take somewhere between 1 to 3 months, but not more than 3 months. Next slide, please. So when you are building your MVP or you are building your product, always make sure don't even try to implement too many functionalities, because that is going to defer your overall productivity. So the more functionalities that you are going to implement, what it will happen, like then it will get too much complexity, and then you need to going to fix one component, and that is going to break another component. So ideally at the first stage, you should focus on very minimal functionalities. Can I go to the next slide? So the most important thing is that target a very small set of users. So let's say like you are going to create your product. So you need to make sure like you already chose your demography, and a very, let's say just for a zip code, like only those areas. If you are going to a B2C or if you are going for a B2B, then you need to just make sure that you are going to focus very small number of users at the very first stage. So you are not going to do like, let's say I need thousands user on the first week itself. Do not even try to do that. So your aim should be, we are going to target a very small set of users. Then we will pinpoint to what problem we are going to solve, what the value we are going to give them, and then try to get their feedback on. And based on that, we are going to iterate that. That should be the ideal scenario. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as I mentioned, so initial customers, and then try to take the feedback from them, from your initial customers, and then iterate it. Then you can update your functionality a little bit, so that any kind of broken system that you can fix at that point, iterate it. Next slide, please. So one of the challenges, like I always heard about from the founders, like they don't know how to code, and it's a very common problem. So how to find, is it a development agency like they're going to contact for, or they're going to find a CTO? So I'm telling you this. So if you are not a techie guy, if you do not know much of technology, but you have a brilliant idea, so I would suggest before even reaching out to the development agency, first try to focus on a technology guy, and he or she can serve as a CTO or CIO. So it is not mandatory like he or she should be able to code, but at least he or she should be in a position like they can talk to any development agency. So he and she will have a clear idea like what the technology stack looks like, what will be the flow diagram, what will be the architecture point of view. So I would highly recommend before even starting anything, if you have your business, whenever it comes to technology, always find first a tech co-founder. Going to the next slide. So as for an example, like Uber, when they have first started on 2009, at the very first, they have only 100 users, but then in the next 6 months, 6,000. So they started only 100 users. And then in 2020, their user base was 93 million. So they started only 100. So it didn't like came the 93 million overnight, right? So we do not need to target 1 million users from the first week itself. We just go small, B2C, maybe 100, B2B, maybe 10 for the first week or month. So the next slide. So I think I try to cover like the most thing. Now, when I say like MVP should take 1 to 3 months, always remember like these are the best case scenario. But what about that when you are talking to a couple of exceptional cases like heavy MVP, heavy tech. So one for pharmaceutical. So you need to go for a lot of regulations, pharmaceutical regulations, right? And that you need to go through a couple of approvals. So second scenario could be banking and insurance. Again, for banking and insurance, you will have to go through a lot of approvals. Robots, even aviation sector. So these are not actually, these are high tech. So you cannot expect like you are going to do your MVP just in 1 to 3 months. So these are the couple of MVP styles like they are having an exception actually. Go to the next slide. So I try to cover within 5 minutes as much as I can. Of course, like there are a lot more, and I think feel free to connect me in the LinkedIn. Any question related to product development, MVP, I would more than happy to answer you guys. So for the next one, like I'm going to hand it over to Amrish. Amrish.
So when we look at our 1 minute pitch, we threw some things together to help everybody get kind of an idea as to the best way to structure that. So now we're going to move to Amrish, and Amrish is going to be talking about the second part of the 1 minute pitch. Define market, secret sauce, and define value. So Amrish, you're here with value. And you might be muted.
Sorry, I'm going to stick to, thanks there, Bill. I'm going to stick to one of those topics, and putting all those three together is quite a lot. And the reason why I wanted to start with value is because a lot of people talk about, you know, an investor approaching you as a company, or you approaching an investor. And the first question they have is, what is the value that you deliver to that customer? And how do they see the value? Right. So one of the things people ask about is, how does an investor decide whether they're going to invest? By the way, I have some background as an investor. I was involved with Robinhood Ventures right up to the end of last year. But one of the key things is that making that linkage between what is value, does your customer understand value, and can you deliver the value to the customer, and will they pay you for it, right? And so let's go to the next slide. What I'm going to talk about here, and yeah, Bill, if you want to just bring that whole thing up. But what I'm going to talk about here is in particular, value, just as a definition, is what you get in exchange for money, right? So I took a definition out there, an amount as of goods, services, or money considered to be fair, key there's fair, and suitable equivalent for something else, a fair price or return. And so let's talk a little bit about what that statement means and in what context. There are 3 or 4 things that I really think are important. Value is influenced by time, and we'll get into what that means. Value is influenced by the place that you're in, right? Your value here might be different to what it may be some other place. Value is also influenced by priority. How important is it to the customer? That's what priority means. If you've got 10 things to do, which is the first one that you want to get done? And then finally, I do want to come back to the concept of fair. And fair is important because each of us has a different definition of fair, right? So what I think is fair to provide someone is a different definition to what other people around me, even those who are close to me and understand me well, think is the definition of fair. So, and that's part of the reason why I think this becomes really important, because a lot of times entrepreneurs feel that they understand this aspect of stuff well, but you only understand it well if you understand the perspective of your customer. And that's the important thing. What does your customer think about these things? And keep in mind, as human beings, we're not very good at communicating some of these things to each other. I mean, if you just think about it, if you've got kids, they don't communicate this to you. If you've got a spouse, they don't communicate that to you. You've got good friends, they don't communicate it well to you. So the expectation that you take someone you just do not know at all, who's going to become your customer and understand what they're going to communicate with you, you really have to dig deep. Next slide. So what I wanted to do was to go through a quick scenario. And Bill, if you wanted to just go through them. So I started with this idea that, hey, I'm at a pool party. I cannot swim or float. I accidentally fall into that pool. And there's a air about a few feet above my head. And the reason why I took this scenario was to give an extreme case. Obviously, this is a very extreme case, right? So now, next slide, Bill, and let's go over what I wanted to get out of this case. So I said, let's compare the value of air before I fell into the pool as compared to what it looks like when I get to the bottom of that pool, right? So think about it, for all of us on this call, the value of air really is close to 0 because we have enough of it around. We never have a issue trying to breathe it. It's clean, it's fresh, it's great. In fact, most of us never ever think about air around us, right? So, but when I fell to the bottom of the pool and had nowhere up, there were 2 or 3 things that began to happen. Number one, panic set in. Why? Because the value of that air, I was like, okay, I don't have air and I need to get it as quickly as possible, right? So that was the hard part. The second thing was that the priority for getting that air was immediate, right? I don't care about doing anything else in my life right now, but getting air. Why? Because if I don't get the air, life ends, right? So priority rises to an extreme, and that's the key driver. It's like, how important is the problem you're trying to solve to your customer? Is he or she going to pick it up right now and run with it? Next slide. So what I wanted to do next was sort of go over something trivial in this case, right? So what I wanted, the trivial part is, you know the value of popcorn when you're hungry. By the way, when you're hungry, it's typically might be a higher priority, right? When you're at the movies, so you're at a particular space, you're in a particular space where you can pay a lot more for popcorn because you want that experience. So the popcorn provides an experience for you. So in that space, you might pay 10 times or 100 times what that popcorn may have cost you at Costco's in a 50 pack or whatever, right? So think about it from that perspective. Then I put in another one when you're headed out to a dentist appointment, and this is time, right? You don't want to eat the popcorn before the appointment, but you might be quite happy to do it as soon as you step out, right? So after the appointment, the time part of it changes. So what I wanted to represent here was how things change in a trivial situation. It's popcorn, it's relatively trivial. But depending on where you are, what time it is, or what the sort of the context of the time it is, and the priority it's in, you might change your value. Next slide, Bill. So the important part I'm getting at here is, does your customer understand the value of your product? Okay, and how does that value change over time? How does it change by location? Does it change by location, right? So Mac, in fact, was talking about the Uber app. That was very location dependent, right? You're in a particular place at a particular time and you want a taxi or you want some kind of transportation. That's the scenario. And then the third point, which I find is very often overlooked by entrepreneurs, is you go to a potential customer and say, hey, I can solve this problem for you. What do you think? And the person says, great, if you can solve it. The next question is, do you want to solve it right now? And if it's like, yeah, I've got 6 other things to think about, but contact me in 3 months, then no, it is not a priority right now. And if enough people turn around and tell you that, then you've got a problem. So you need to get that priority back from them as quickly as you can, okay? And then finally, at the point I want to make, do you know how to explain the value of a product in terms the customer understands? The best way to get that is, as the customer is talking about the problem to you, keep asking them about it. They will use language, not your language, but their language. Make sure you record that, write it down, whatever, and use that language back to other customers. More than likely, that's the same language that they'll use. Thanks. That's it for me.
Perfect. Thanks, Amrish. That was great. So again, our second set in the FI around our 1-minute pitch. So next up is myself, where I'm talking about competitors and differentiators. So fairly simple when when you're talking about competitors and differentiators is, who are you similar to? And it may not necessarily be your direct competitors, because if you're talking to somebody on the street or you're trying to give your pitch to somebody that might not know your space, you really want to give people points of reference. So a lot of times it's using big names like, we're a marketplace like Amazon, or we're an app like Uber, so that people don't have to ask you an awful lot of questions and get into the details when you're talking about who your competitors are. And then from a differentiator standpoint, it's your value statement. It's what sets you apart. We've had some founders throw out some big numbers in the last cohort, and big numbers are great because they have a lot of impact and a lot of wow factor. But you also have to realize that big numbers can make people sometimes feel afraid, because how does your product give a 20% increase when some other product is not doing that? So you always want to make sure, if you're going to throw out a big number, that you recognize that it is a big number and that you have some supporting information behind it. And that's typically a fact that can't be disputed. And a fact that cannot be disputed is one that you're very certain on, and it, as you've moved through your pitch, you've gotten people feeling comfortable with that. So again, FI, this is how we're looking at our 1-minute pitch. So last up is Joel, and Joel is going to talk in loose terms around the current state of product, the ask, and then of course, what would you do with the ask? So Joel, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Bill.
Whoops, wait a minute. Sorry. There we go.
And Bill, why don't you skip to slide 3, because we already did the intros. There we go. So first thing is when you're talking to investors, you have to understand that investors have a preference for the stage of company that they invest in. And you want to make sure that you're pitching to an investor that is looking for a company at the stage you're at. So you need to, as part of your pitch, talk about what's the current state. You know, from a product development standpoint, are you pre-MVP? Are you at, do you have an MVP? Do you have a commercial product? Are you pre-revenue? Are you in the first million of annual revenue? On your team, is it founders only? Do you have a partial team, or have you fully built out your team? Are you in pre-sales? Do you have a go-to-market strategy? Are you scaling? Those are a few of the kind of characteristics that can define what's the current state of the company. Another way to think about it is also what milestones have you accomplished? Because that tells an investor kind of where you're at and whether or not you fit their investment criteria. Okay, Bill, next slide. So then you get to the ask. It's pretty simple. One thing I will tell you is after seeing hundreds of pitches, it is amazing that how many startup founders don't include an ask at the end of their pitch, which is a colossal mistake. The whole point of what you're doing is trying to raise money. If you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. You need to tell the investor how much do you want. You need to tell them how long will that last. Is the cash going to cover the next year, the next 18 months? How far will you get? What investment vehicle are you using? Are you offering a convertible note, a safe instrument? Are you offering priced equity? And then some of the key terms, so that you're telling them, here's how much I want here, and here's what you're going to get as an investor. Next, Bill. And finally, you need to tell them what the uses of the funds are. Are you going to use the funds to hire people? Are you going to use it for product development? Are you going to, is your business the type that you need to invest in infrastructure to be able to deliver your product or service? Are you going to spend it on marketing? You spend it building a sales team or a sales effort? And don't just say, I'm going to spend on marketing. You need to be specific. I know it's a short pitch, but you need to be, what exactly are you going to use the funds for? All right, next, Bill. So to kind of recap, make sure that you're articulating clearly the current state of your business. Pitch investors whose preference matches your state. Clearly state your ask. How much do you want, and what does the investor get for their investment? And last, uses of funds. How will you use the funds, and what milestones will you accomplish, or will you achieve by using the investor's funds? That's it, Bill. Pretty quick.
That's it. All right, perfect. So what we've done is we've kind of put it all together around FI. So I'm going to roll this out, and it is definitely less than a minute. So the disadvantage is we've got a lot of real estate, probably 15 seconds or so left over, that we would want to fill. So you do want to, on a minute pitch, you want to hit that magic minute. But here we go. So my company, Founder Institute Keystone, is developing a structured and rigorous program to help pre-seed and early stage founders build great companies with direct feedback and expert mentoring. We compete in the growing startup incubator market, which last year was a $13 billion market. We're similar to Navy SEAL training, but we have a globally diverse group of mentors. Currently, we have 90 mentors representing 10 countries. We're looking for applications to our fall cohort to help us strengthen and grow the Delaware Valley startup ecosystem. So short, sweet, the goal always of a 1-minute pitch is to get to a 5-minute pitch, to get to a 10-minute pitch. So you really want to try to grab people's attention, give them the points that you need to get answered, and then ask them the question of, can I have another 5 minutes, or can I have 10 minutes, or let's get a pitch with a deck and a video and all that other stuff. So now we're going to get into the pitching. So again, we've kind of broken down the pitch guidelines, makes it a little easy for people to see. When we are pitching, the way FI likes to give you feedback is 5s, 4s, 2s, and 1s. There are absolutely no 3s. And it's not because there are not people that deserve 3s, But the goal is if you need work, you should be able to know that you need work. If you're looking good, you should be able to know that you're looking good. Worst thing that anybody could ever do when you ask them how you doing is just say, I'm doing fine. Fine versus great versus not so good. So there's not really fine out there. So there's no threes. So when we are doing our ranking, I'm going to ask all of the mentors that are going to be on the panel to make sure that you are giving the founders that are pitching scores within the 5s, the 4s, the 2s, or the 1s. And I think we are ready to get to pitching. So at this particular point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can actually see what's going on out there. And Don, do we have some people teed up for the pitching part?
Yes, we do. Just answering to somebody right now.
Okay.
Who so the answer to the question is yes, while you guys are all in the audience, you're muted and so on. When it's your turn to present, you will be promoted. Bill, you've been asked to share your screen, I guess maybe go back. Screen with the demo.
Maybe like
So-
the Mad Libs format.
Probably.
So that format, I'm assuming?
Um,
And Bill, I also wanted, this is Owen, I wanted to let you know I'm here to time all the pitches.
Perfect. Thank you, Owen, for that. So, I mean, so keeping it up would make sense for people, or do they want to, quick take a, screenshot and then they'll have it and then we can,
yeah, I think that's what she wanted. She wanted to
okay,
get a screenshot or, look at it a little bit more. And then, again, we have, about, 5 people currently online that I can see that are ready to pitch. So, Owen, if you want to set your timer maybe to, I don't know, 5:15, like, I guess 3 minutes, if you have a 1-minute pitch ready, fantastic, go with that. If you need a little extra time, Owen will, let you know when you're at 2 minutes 30, something like that, that you're going to get cut off at 3. Oh, okay. Looks like we have number 6. So 2 to 3 minutes tops, and then that way you'll have plenty of time for mentor feedback. So Bill, I don't know if you had anybody in mind first, but the first person that I saw raise their hand was Peter White.
all right, let's bring Peter, put him in the hot seat.
There we go. Let's see. Promote to panelist.
There we go. I can see Peter.
Okay, excellent.
Let me make sure he's not muted.
Peter, you can turn on your camera and microphone because you are now on the panel. Oh, okay, he's working on it.
Would not be Zoom without some challenges.
Yes, so Peter, Hayek, Ethan, Robert, Richard just pinged me, and then Regina. So, you guys just be aware that we will be getting to you, so as soon as you hear somebody wrapping up, then be prepared. We'll call on you probably in that order, but not necessarily. So, in fact, I'm going to promote Hayek right now. If you're ready, Hayek, then maybe you'll go while Peter figures out his.
Yeah, I think Peter's ready.
Actually, can
Oh,
everyone hear me?
okay.
Okay.
Yep, we
perfect.
can, absolutely.
Sorry about that, guys.
right.
My computer mic is a little temperamental, so I'm just using my phone and my Bluetooth. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed what the other panelists had to say. And if you guys like, we will make up for the time that took me to sign in. I'll just jump right in.
Please.
Perfect.
Okay, so my name is Peter White. I'm the founder of the Benefit Stakeholder Company, which is developing a platform for collective civic engagement and collective bargaining to help politically engaged individuals who engage in donations or microtransactions pool their resources to engage in conditional relationships with politicians and legislatures. The way that we're doing this is combining blockchain with innovations in crowdfunding, community management tools, crowdsourcing, and other financial technologies to help people create comprehensive, efficient, and effective grassroots organizations online, the way that they're not going to find it with traditional political parties, nonprofits, traditional giving, et cetera. Right now, we're seeing a massive explosion, and we're coming into this market of micro donations as a primary source of funding for politicians. Last year, we saw a 20% increase to $16 billion in micro donations for political causes and campaigns. Previously, it was, I believe, about 14 billion. So right now, our biggest competitor, we're very similar to, in terms of our technology and sort of the methods of engagement, OnlyFans, in the sense that we're engaging in community-based cooperative content creation. But the key differentiation is that we are helping people formulate coalitions online instead of it just being focused on the actions of the content creator. Currently, we have an amazing product team. Mark Anderson Lawson, who is one of the key developers or designers of Roku, has been building out the MVP. We've got to create an amazing design team from a number of different backgrounds, both in the technology, fintech, banking, and politics space, who are building an incredible MVP for us. And currently, we're looking for about early stage funding of $250,000 in the form of a SAFE, ideally in a milestone structure, to help us build our original
That's
MVP.
time at 2:30.
All right, very good. Got exactly to the period at the end of the sentence.
Yep. It was, yeah, absolutely. So, so good job jumping in there and trying to hit all of the different pieces of the FI template, which I thought was kind of nice. Certainly, from a perspective, I would have to give you a 2 at this particular point. And it wasn't so much that it was completely unclear. There were certain areas that were clear and certain areas that weren't. But realistically, in a short pitch, some of the beneficial things you need to kind of focus on, and then some of the ancillary stuff, just don't even mention it in that short period of time. And you can always refer to that later. So any other feedback from the mentors that are out there in terms of Peter's?
Yeah. Hi, Peter. So first thing is that, first of all, I love your idea, like what you were trying. So I clearly understand that whatever you were trying to do. So a couple of things like, first of all, it passed the 1 minute things, 1 minute threshold, right? So I think it's more than 2 minutes. So you need to make sure, like, so I always tell founders, like when you are going to create your own pitch, create a couple of versions. So maybe one for only 1 minute. Then when you will get 2 minutes, maybe you can create another pitch deck just for 2 minutes. Or if you get 3 minutes, then you can create another pitch deck just for 3 minutes. It's always better. So you can prepare yourself in a better way so that you can deliver yourself just in 1 minute. As Bill mentioned, so he already gave, you guys a structure. So I think like you told a couple of things extra, which are redundant, like just in 1 minute pitch. So, and I think I have missed one point, like, I'm not sure that you have mentioned about the whole market opportunity. So it is a how many $1 billion opportunity, or it's a $1 trillion opportunity. From an investor point of view, it is very crucial. Like what is the market opportunity? So, and what could be the valuation? So I think that, one of them, like if you tell like it's a huge market opportunity, but you are not telling any specific numbers. So but I think it will be always better if you can tell that number. It could be $20 billion opportunity, is a $1 trillion opportunity. So investors, they will have clear idea, concise idea, like, this is the market opportunity. Overall, I love your idea. Thank you.
Hey, Bill, if I could just jump in for a second.
Sure.
So Peter, I don't want to repeat what we've already heard, but I love what you're doing. As opposed to Bill, I would have given you a 4, but I'll tell you, because I think you have a lot of the answers. I got the sense that a lot of the areas you have the meat. But the issue I had was that your pitch rambled. You need to tighten it up to be much more clear and succinct in how you're saying things. You can get more in a shorter amount of time if you really think about, instead of ad-libbing it, start trying to think about specifically what's the messages I'm trying to state, and shorten the number of words you're using to get there.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, Peter. Well, thank you very much for being our first, and I'm looking forward to you having much success. We'll move now to Hayek. So Don,
yeah,
if you
Bill,
could.
Yeah, I will. Actually, Hayek should be on the panel already. So
Perfect.
Yes,
okay, terrific. Just quick point. To Mac's point, we did offer up extra time. So Peter took it because it was offered. I would say, Owen, if you could please maybe give notification at 1:30, and then give them time to finish. But we have a hard stop at 2 because we want to be sensitive. We're almost, we're getting pretty close, hard on time. So you get up to 2 minutes if you need it. If you want to do a minute or a minute and a half, that's fine. But you're going to get a hard stop at 2. And then I forgot my disclaimer. Some of the people presenting may have some relationship with some of the mentors or founders or whatever. I've been, coaching and helping, and may have a stake depending on who's who or what's what, with people that pitch, which again isn't going to affect my judgment. But I think, to be fair, everyone should be aware that we are trying to help our founders even before they get into the cohort. So there may be some relationship there. Just a fair warning. With that, Hayek, please go for it.
If you have just one moment, Ed, when you get to 90 seconds, I'm just going to say 30, and then I'll say 2 minutes at the 2 minute mark there, if that works for a kind of the warning shot and then the cutoff.
Sounds good.
Hello, everyone. Glad to meet you all. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, my name is Hayek Yılan, and our company Lightning Grow is looking to commercialize a machine-driven system that generates nitrogen-based fertilizer to help indoor cannabis and other crop growing operations increase yield and save money by replacing their outside dependence for nitrogen-based fertilizers with an automated on-site solution. Growers can generate the nitrogen they need by using only compressed air, water, and electricity. This will allow them to be immune to fertilizer price fluctuations in the market. Furthermore, our chemical-free and automated process minimizes the risk of over-fertilization, toxicity, and pathogens. Preliminary tests we conducted showed promising results. Strawberries grown with fertilized water showed an increase of 20% in yield versus the control. We currently have 2 candidate pilot farms who are interested in testing our MVP and gathering field data. Our team is working closely with the manufacturer of this technology who can mass produce high quality equipment and ship it anywhere in the world. It's very easy to operate and no maintenance is required.
That was 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Wow, wow,
So
that was
really
pretty good. All right, good job, good job.
I fell short of certain parts of
That's
the med
No,
lab, I know.
That's okay. So any feedback? I mean, I'll give feedback all the time, but I want to be conscious of the time. So any feedback from the panelists?
Can I give?
Sure.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So the first thing is that love the idea. I would give 3. So 2 things actually. I think I didn't hear the competitors. Who are your competitors? So like when you say I do not have any competitors, that means like it's not an idea. So that's one thing. And number 2 is like, again, I didn't hear the volume of the market opportunity. So that's very important from the investor's point of view. So that's the 2 things I just wanted to mention.
Yes,
I
I
love
have
your
some
idea.
homework to do in those areas, the numbers, and I have to gather all that data.
Okay.
We are still in the bootstrapping stage, but we have access to the technology, and it has shown preliminary promise.
Okay.
We have to onboard a few farms and indoor growers and have give their input to us.
Perfect.
Great. Any other feedback?
Yeah.
Amrish?
So a couple of thoughts on that. One is I thought it was really good because you were able to keep it to a few items. Just remember, and this applies to everyone, you're not here to explain every detail about your business in 1 minute, or even when you do a 10 or 15-minute pitch for an investor, you want to leave some information out because you want to have that next conversation with the investor. So you want them to come back and ask you questions either then or in the future, right? So those are some of the things you need to think about. And so I think you did an overall pretty good job. The one big sort of secret sauce that you have, it seems like, is the technology or the capability to make this thing work, right? To extract nitrogen out of compressed air. So I think you need to focus a little bit more on the background of that technology, where it came from and what made it happen.
Mhm.
That would just be my suggestion.
No, that's great. I would give you a 4. I really like where you are in terms of getting getting people on board with that. So I think that's definitely something that you want to highlight in the 1 minute piece. Kind of to Joel's point, depending on who you might be talking to, some things you're going to highlight more than others, but definitely talking to an investor, that piece is super important to us. So thanks very much for jumping in. Looks
Thank
like
you.
next, yep, our pleasure. So it looks like next we have Ethan. So Ethan, you are next. Welcome.
Hey, how are all of you today?
Doing great.
Great to meet you. Am I good to start whenever?
Yep, absolutely.
Sounds great. Well, I'm here to tell you and show you how we've created what Canva has done for graphic design and Wix did for websites for the metaverse. I'm Ethan. I'm the founder and CEO of Agora World. I started building it while I was a student at Temple University. I'm a no-code founder, and I kept running into barrier after barrier while trying to build version 1 because of my lack of expertise. And because of that experience, we're now working on trying to become the onboarding ramp for everyone else for all things Web3. So we've built a chain agnostic fully no code, open and interoperable platform. We have customers. We've worked with Temple, Penn, Philly Tech Week 2021-22, DoD companies, sports teams, artists. We have great partnerships and have found users spend an average of an hour per session rather than under a minute for websites. The metaverse market is 300 billion today, expected to grow to 5 trillion by 2030. And my CTO, he was at Berkeley when he started doing development. He's written books on VR. He's taught courses and written curriculum. And our CGO is actually a entrepreneur in residence for FI in Chicago. So we're raising 1.5 million right now for our seed round for 24 months of runway, so we can onboard 1 million businesses into the metaverse.
Fantastic. Oh, and I'm sure that was right spot on in a minute, correct?
I had a minute 12 actually,
all right.
but
Got some work to do. Got some work to do.
No, tremendous job, Ethan. Certainly hit a lot of points. I would say for myself, I was absolutely listening, kind of on edge with every word. So I think you've practiced this pitch many, many a time. And that kind of shows from certainly how polished it is. And you hit kind of all the details. Any other feedback from the mentors that may be things that might challenge Ethan?
Sure, I think there's a couple of things when you talk about the on-ramp for those people who are unaware of this space. And again, think of investors as being probably average age, my guess would be 65 or 70. So they're not very clued in, even when they claim to be tech investors. They know about yesterday's technologies, not tomorrow's. So you might just want to talk a little bit more detailed about what it is that you're doing, even if it means holding up a piece of paper to explain what it looks like or anything like that, because you may not have the ability to put a slide deck out there and things like that. Just hold a prop up and say, hey, this is what it does. And then here's what it looks like. Just anything to be different that way would be cool.
We just built our pitch deck into a 3D virtual world if you want to go explore it.
Yeah, but again, the 75-year-old won't even find their way there.
Fair enough.
So I know that you got to tighten up a little bit to get to 1 minute, which is really hard to do. But I actually loved your comment about we're going to do like Canva did in this and this for the metaverse. And I'm not suggesting you take it away from the beginning, but if there's a way that when you're asking for funds at the end, you say we're raising $1.5 million to build the metaverse's Canva or whatever, that says to the investor, I have the opportunity to get that kind of a return. And that's a strong selling message. So if you can't get it in the 1 minute, you can certainly get it in the 3 minute or the 5 minute. But that would be one little point I would make, because investors are always trying to think about how much am I going to get for what I'm investing.
I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah. And I just want to say to that particular point, none of us had to figure out exactly where you were positioning wise when you threw those names out there. And I think you did a very good job of, if you threw a name out, you also explained what that name was, why you used that particular name. So I thought that was very powerful. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for pitching. Absolutely.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. All right. So it looks like next up we have Robert.
Yep, if he's ready, I just promoted him. By the way, again, as to my disclaimer, both Hayek and Ethan I have spoken with and was so impressed that I definitely encourage them to come and pitch. Really interesting, again, 1 or 2 minutes does not do justice to the level of intelligence and vision and whatever. So I highly recommend everybody check out their stuff. Really good. Not to say that everybody else isn't amazing, but I happen to have had conversations with them.
Great. All right. Well, thanks, Don. So Robert, if you're set, you are ready to go. You're in the hot seat.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. Thank you for your time tonight. My company, Focus Staffing Group, is a healthcare and education professional referral agency to help schools and hospitals find the caring professionals they need for their students and patients to change lives one rockstar talent at a time with an undeniable candidate offering. We compete in a growing healthcare and education staffing market, which last year was $24.1 billion value market for US healthcare staffing alone. We are similar to Kelly Services and ConnectRN, but we allow our customers to customize their solutions to be a one-stop shop for all of their staffing needs. We've been active for over a year, have 15 billing clients, 16 internal recruiting and admin staff, and are targeting over $2 million in revenue for 2022. We are looking for mentorship and direction to help differentiate our candidate offering to become a premier agency in our verticals. With an undeniable candidate offering, our referred professionals become our raving fans who recommend us to their family and friends to drive greater recruiting efficiency, reduce costs, and allow us to stand out as a provider of choice to prospective clients. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Owen, do we have an idea of the time?
Minute 8.
Minute 8. Okay. No, that's perfect. And I'm glad that you took a look and tried to use kind of the FI template with that. I would say that, as you practice your pitch, and this is for all of the founders, especially if you've got to internalize it and reading it first, make sure that you're emphasizing certain points. So talk is not necessarily all about just saying the same words over and over and over again. It's really around kind of stopping, pausing, changing your inflection and those types of things, which allows people to really focus on specific things that you want to say with that. So from a mentor standpoint, any other feedback from any of you guys?
Sure. I think you pointed out, Robert, that you were like Kelly Services. That's a huge company. And by pointing out that you're like a competitor, you now need to explain how you're different to Kelly Services. Otherwise, it's hard to get an investor interested in something where you're just, exactly like your competition, but your competition is 1,000,000 times your size. So think about that from a delivery perspective.
For sure.
Sounds good. Mac, Owen, Joel? No?
Yeah, so Robert, I'm not sure if I mistaken, but did you at the last, did you ask anything what you were going to raise or any numbers that you put?
Yeah, so I guess honestly, I'm at a point where my ask is really to help determine the direction for creating a candidate offering, whether that's a platform for candidates to connect or grow or professional development. So I'm still at the stage where I'm kind of trying to determine the direction I want to go before I feel comfortable asking. So my ask is really for mentorship and help with that direction.
Perfect. I think so. I think you are more on idea stage, or you are validating your idea, I think.
Yeah, so the company is profitable, but it's just from a service provider standpoint.
Got you.
In staffing, essentially. The direction I want to go is more in that kind of a platform to differentiate ourselves from our competitors like Kelly Staffing and those larger guys.
Okay, so just wanted to let you know one thing. So when you mentioned about your service-based agency, typically investors, as per my experience, investors do not invest too much on service-based agency. So it's better always apart from that, if you can create some of, any kind of product, if you can create any product out of it, maybe any subscription model. And if you can follow B2B model, if you can bring it onto your platform, I think that will be great help.
Excellent.
Because any kind of software development agency or any digital marketing agency or staffing agency, these are kind of, outside the investment zone. As per my experience, investors, 90% investors, they will not invest in if you tell agency. So maybe, if you can come up with a different kind of platform, I think that might help for sure.
Robert, is this your first year of operation? How old is the company?
It's just over a year old.
the company.
2 million in, your first year or whatever. I mean, that's top 5% or whatever. So, kudos, first of all. Number two, I mean, hell, if, you got a, perfect score on your SATs or whatever, you're going to, when you're applying to schools, you want to tell them that, right?
Yeah.
So I heard you, obviously Mac didn't. So I think you want to make more of a big deal of the fact that, we hit it out of the park. That's a lot of money for your first year of operations. So again, congrats, and definitely highlight that.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep,
Sure.
Great point. All right. Well, thank you very much. So next up, it looks like we have Regina. So Regina, if you could unmute and turn on the video, that would be ideal. All right, we can see you. I think you're still muted.
Evening, how are we doing today?
All right, we're doing great. So you're on the hot seat.
Yes, hello, my name is Regina, and I have a nonprofit called Echoes of Africa. And what we do is we build facilities for those who are academia to participate in athletic events, and also academic event as well too, like to do their classwork and also to do their I'm sorry, I'm like a bit flustered right now.
That's okay. It's okay. Take your time.
All right. So yes, hello. My name is Regina Kalua, and I'm the founder of Echoes of Africa. It's a nonprofit that we focus on providing opportunities for students, athletes. Therefore, they can go ahead and participate in their athletic events and also in their academic curriculum, while with tutors within the centers. And this is not located within America, this is located within Africa. We can see that Africa is a great marketplace, and therefore we're trying to enter into that and begin to provide this opportunity for these individuals. Therefore they can be able to advance as well too. And we are looking to have at least 202,000 for fundings and so forth. And we have participated in a few fundraiser ball and also participated in event as well within the state, the local, as a domestic event, such as feeding the homeless and so forth. And so this is Regina, and thank you for your time.
Sure. Well, thank you, Regina. So real quick from a feedback standpoint, your message was a little, and certainly a little nervous. So you're a little kind of all over the place from your message. I do like the story though. Stories are always important when you get people to kind of take a walk in your shoes. So if you do have the ability of giving a story around how you've helped, sometimes that will help you to be more relaxed when you're actually talking about your business. Because typically when people tell a story, their mind is to a point where, oh, well, let's look back at how we helped this child to do this and that. And it certainly helps those individuals that are listening to what you have to say to better understand, what your product is and your service is looking like. But other mentors, certainly, do you have any additional feedback? Joel?
Yeah, Regina, I think the idea is great. And I actually know a number of athletes that probably would be interested in helping. What I would tell you though is this, it is almost impossible as a nonprofit to raise capital from investors because there's no exit that will provide kind of liquidity for them. So that doesn't mean you can't do what you're doing. You probably would raise funds from foundations or other organizations or even athletes themselves. So I think you need to. We saw this at the last cohort of Founders Institute this spring and summer, where someone came in with a nonprofit idea and left with a rethinking it and came out more as a for-profit business. And I'm not suggesting you go that way, but I think you need to decide where you're going to go. Do you want, if you want, there's nothing wrong with building a nonprofit to do what you're doing, but you need to think of it as you're raising money a different way than raising it from investors.
That's a good point, Joel. Good point. Any other feedback?
Yeah, so I think, Regina, also, if you think of the structure of this conversation that you're having, the 1 minute, 3 minute, 10 minute, and think of it from the perspective of what's the problem statement, and who is it trying to solve for? So what's the problem? Who is the problem for? What's your solution? What's the benefits of those solutions, right? And so if you just stick to those 3 or 4 things from a delivery standpoint, then it just becomes easier for you to get the flow going, right? So you've got a customer who you're going to solve a problem for, and you're going to proceed in that direction. Does that make sense?
Great point. Great point. Absolutely. So Regina, best of luck with anything, with what you're doing. Certainly, if we at FI can help you to kind of more refine what you're looking to do, we'd love to be able to do that. So thank you very much.
To that point, Bill, sorry, quick comment here. Thank you for, that example. We actually had 3 companies in our last cohort that were Africa centric, and definitely would be happy to introduce you to those founders, who would, probably be able to help you or partner with you in some way. And one of them, exactly that, came in with a nonprofit idea and, figured out that, she needed to be a for-profit, is going for a benefit corp, right? Which is kind of a social good, but, profit corporation, and will have a nonprofit angle as well, a foundation or whatever. And you can do both. But yes, if you're looking for donations, you can be a nonprofit. If you're looking for any kind of investment, the investor needs to know that they're going to get something back for their money, and you can't do that with the nonprofit. The other thing I would say is, everyone, please check out the article. I just posted the URL, came out today, highlighting these founders of color that form the majority of our last cohort, and how well they did, and how proud we are at FI to have graduated a slew of amazing founders. The article talks a little bit about one in particular. So please check it out. With that, I see Richard looks like he's ready to go.
Yep. So we got Richard. Richard, nice to meet you. You're up if you're ready.
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Richard. I'm the founder of AI Stock. My company is developing a B2C SaaS one-click supply chain to help Amazon sellers change how they manage their e-commerce store operation with inventory planning and cash flow projection. We compete in the growing Amazon e-commerce sellers software market, which last year was $80 billion value market. $80 billion value market. Our dream customers, our sum, 100,000 Amazon sellers with $1 million annual revenue. We are similar to Manhattan Associates as a big company. Skubana just acquired March 2021, and SoStock acquired July 2022, just last month. But we have a growth enabler keyword to cash flow analytics that they don't have. Currently, we have 1, product and training ready on the website. 2, we have a growth hack team with total 20 plus years on Amazon selling experience and about 25 years on coding. And number 3, we are marching to the first 100 paying customers. The last one, we are raising for $500,000 angel investment to help us, 1, to acquire our 1,000 dream customers with LTV to CAC ratio larger than 10x. 2, we are projecting 1 million plus ARR for the next 12 months. And the last one, we are projecting less than 5% churn rate. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. So that was great. Owen, what was curious on the time on that?
That was 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Okay.
So just under 2 minutes there.
Just under 2 minutes. Super lot of information. I know that I'm sure Joel will have some things to say because you hit a lot of the buzzwords that we want to hear as investors. So that's fantastic. I hadn't give ratings for a while. You know, I'm at a 4, almost a 5, I think, because you certainly followed the FI parts. I guess I'm more amazed by the opportunity on this and the fact that you've got revenue going and what have you. But anybody else have things that they want to say, either good or bad?
Yeah, so I really love the idea, Richard, and I would definitely want to give you 5. So it was very concrete pitch, and it's really like you have also mentioned all the points like which is needed. So I think it's a great pitch. That's what I understand. You have also mentioned your analytics part as well, and I think also like several companies of the acquisition part as well. So it was overall, it's a very compact pitch. So loved.
Well,
really.
Maybe I missed something. So, certainly I love the pitch, but there was a piece missing to me that maybe I just didn't hear, which is what is the specific pain? Like, I know these Amazon sellers have lots of issues and Amazon doesn't make it easy and so on. But what's the specific pain that I, as an Amazon seller, would want to come to you to cure?
Yes. So that's a very good question. Thank you so much. So this is the picture, right? I understand the use case. We are use case expert. This $1 million revenue sellers, millions of them in the market. And guess who they are? They have a full-time job, they have family, and they're trying to grow their side hustle on Amazon. And they're very good at product research. They know what to sell, how to pick the best product. They know how to launch it. They know how to do the PPC because all of the trainings are there, all the masterminds. But you know what they suck at? Operations. We interviewed 180 of this $1 million revenue, and they barely make any money because all the profit goes to working capital, right? They reinvest. And do you know what they suck? They use spreadsheet. We pronounce guesstimations. We ask them like, how do you use to know inventory planning and cash flow? They look at me like, oh, well, we know. Like, how? Tell me. Very specific. They say like, well, this is our spreadsheet. Okay, we know that. We know something they don't know. So, and that's our value proposition. And just use us, $70 per month. We try to make B2B cheap. B2B is awful and expensive. Yeah, we just charge $70 per month, starting at, thank you.
Thank you. To me, that is a huge piece of it. Like, if I had heard that, I would have been even more enthusiastic because like, okay, I get it. I understand. There's, used to be, back in the day, most businesses, the pickle man or whatever, oh, I know how much I have. And, everybody knew their inventory, because they, or, whatever, they knew it. They watched everything that came and went. In this day and age, you can't do that. So you definitely are able to bring some intelligence to a very sloppy process. Absolutely understand the use case, and $70 a month is nothing, right? I mean, if you're doing $1 million, on Amazon, even though your margins are probably tiny, but still, it's $1 million. So $70 to understand that million. If you increase your margins from 1% to 1.5%. I mean, how many years of your service did they just pay for, in a month or two? So, thank you.
Can I add one more thing, if you
Sure.
don't mind? So this is my conjecture. I don't have any proof, but 2 of our competitors were acquired, March 21 and July 22. And guess what? Supply chain woe. Everybody knows about all of the supply chain traffic. And this is something that happens with all of the sellers, right? So we asked them, like, what happened? They say, like, out of stock. Why? Because 3 months lead time from China becomes 6 to 7 months if you're lucky. So they all got somehow out of stock. And you know what they did? They slowed down sales. They slowed down DPC. They just have to do this. People, they really need to think ahead. Like, okay, my supply chain is outdated. How can I improve this? So that's what we are trying to come in. Thank you.
So Bill, if I could just add a couple comments.
Sure.
So I've got a lot of logistics experience, and I have 2 clients that are Amazon resellers right now, and I understand the whole problem. My comment about your pitch is that I don't, when you talk about Manhattan Associates, you're not telling an investor your positioning in the market, because somebody that would be a target for what you're describing, the client you described is more of like a Zoho user than they are an SAP user. And Manhattan is the SAP kind of. So you mixed metaphors in your specifics. I think that needs to get tightened up. You need to be very much more focused on who's the target customer, what's your positioning in the market vis-a-vis the other types of solutions that could be aiming at into the market. That's my only kind of feedback. You definitely have found a niche in the market that needs solutions. Don't get me wrong. I just think an investor who understands the space is going to quickly see the same things that I just saw.
Thank you so much, Ul. You are 100% right. So Manhattan Associates, these guys are going to B2B. And we saw the gap in the market that people with salary with $1 million revenue, they cannot pay $1,000 per month for supply chain software. So that's exactly, but you're right. I need to fix this. I cannot just mix. So actually I draw like the 4 quadrant, right? This one going to B2C, this one going to B2B. So we are B2C and we are going to omni-channel, not just Amazon, because it's all the same. So that's where we are actually. Yes. Thank you so much.
Great. So perfect. So thank you very much for your pitch. I don't know, Don, I don't think we have anybody else slated, correct? So we'll kind of move towards the wrap up. Does that make sense?
That's all I got.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go back and share my screen as we go through kind of the final wrap up with this. And I very much want to thank all of the people that were that presented, because certainly we can't have a pitch event without people actually pitching. So thank you all very much for that. So let's flip back to screen sharing and then we'll kind of wrap up. So so kind of that's where we are. So I hope everybody got some things out of this. Founder Institute is definitely interested in growing the Delaware Valley ecosystem. We've got a ton of opportunities for founders to join cohorts, maybe some founders to want to come in and mentor other founders. So there's definitely a way that we're kind of giving back and doing the full circle thing. Founder Institute has 3 programs. The core program, which is sort of our boot camp, runs for 4 months. We have 2 different tracks depending on where businesses are. And then ultimately the founders kind of merge together towards the tail end. And it's a really rigorous group. When I say Navy SEAL training, I'm really not lying when it comes to that, because it is very, it has a lot of important and necessary things, and it's very structured. And then we also have our founder lab and then our VC lab to help VCs that are looking to start VC companies to be able to get out of the gates quickly. So with that, throwing out our values and then opening it up. We have a short amount of time where we could kind of keep things open. If people have additional questions, maybe we could open the chat up to everybody if it's not already opened up to everybody, if there are any additional questions. But to that end, I want to thank all of our mentors for participating. Absolutely thanking all of the founders that participated and those of you in the audience that were able to lend your support to people pitching. You know, pitching is a tough business, but at the end of the day, the goal of the 1 minute pitch is to be able to ask somebody for more minutes, whatever more minutes look like. So thank you all very much. We'll kind of leave the chat open, and then Don, if there's people that want to be promoted and ask some questions with us, we have just a little bit of time before the absolute drop dead of 7:30.
Yep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through here, and everybody's going to be allowed to talk. So if you have something to say, you can unmute yourself and speak, or you can put something in the chat. Whatever you're, most interested in or motivated by. But yeah, yet another, I think, amazing panel. Thank you guys very much. And again, like I said, I feel very blessed that, Founders Institute has been, fortunate to attract some of the best and brightest of the Delaware Valley. So this is the caliber of mentors that, you will get access to. If you check out the article that I posted, they interviewed Roger from Daxel, who graduated from our first cohort in August, and we like to joke that, considering that he used, I lost track, I want to say probably 150 office hours during
Oh
the
yeah,
session,
absolutely. Yep.
right? So if he only paid us minimum wage for access to all these brilliant people, he would have paid double or triple the price of the tuition. So he really got his money's worth. So I certainly encourage you guys to check out the program, and if it fits for you, by all means, come and use those office hours. Talk to us, pick our brains. That's what we're here for. I also want to mention that I guess it would be 3 weeks from today. 3 weeks from today, we have an amazing webinar. There's a gentleman, you can find it on our website, gentleman who wrote a fascinating article in Forbes based on his book, which showed that the median age of founders was actually 42, and that the most successful, thank you, Pam, Kumar Mehta, the most successful ones were actually 50 plus, because they had wisdom, they had capital. There's, not to say that, again, we've met some amazing student entrepreneurs here, and they have, energy and enthusiasm and vision, and probably some more tech savvy than some of us, who remember working on, monochrome terminals. But at any age, you can be successful. So we're going to have a panel talking about the pros and cons of starting a business, what the challenges are, what the advantages are of doing it at any age. So please, by all means, mark your calendars. 3 weeks from tonight is going to be an exceptional panel. We have some co-sponsors, including Penn State, is going to be involved. So, definitely hope to see you then.
That sounds good. So Don, it's right at 7:29. So I think we'll end for now. Feel free to follow us on LinkedIn at Founder Institute Delaware Valley, and then certainly check us out at Founder Institute website, which is fi.co/Philadelphia. You can see all of the events that we currently have, and then get some questions answered, and a chance to reach out to some of the mentors. You get a chance to see who the mentors are, and possibly connect with them on LinkedIn. So again, thank you all very much for attending. Thank you very much, mentors, for your presentation. And then obviously all of you founders, thanks for keeping the Delaware Valley ecosystem rolling. So with that, we will see everybody in 3 weeks.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Thanks,
Great
everybody.
job
Have a
again.
good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.